Good morning. Okay, so today we have a power button for an all-in-one desktop and the power ribbon cable that hooks this to the board. Normally you have connections on here. This particular one, kind of genius, actually not, but anyway, this manufacturer decided to solder it to the board, and then it ripped off when they were messing with it. So we are going to see about fixing this today. So what we're going to do is have a look at it first. Here is the board. The board actually looks fine, and if you look right here, that's the actual ribbon cable, which I think has been spared any real damage. Maybe, let's see, pretty small here. I'm going to try to separate these, see if we're good to go. Yeah, I think we're okay. The trick is, though, when we solder these back, we don't want them to bridge or connect to each other. There we go. So, let's see if we can move that over just a bit more. All right. And there. Well, a little bit more. Okay, that looks pretty good. Also, if we look at it this way, they're kind of different there. So I'm going to see if I can squish this, maybe to make them all the same. There we go, just like that. And let's see how they look with the connector here. Yeah, I think that's going to be fine. So this is a very small board, as you can see by my pliers or my tweezers, very small. So what we're going to do is try to get one of these in place, and then we'll be able to let go of this, and we could just kind of put each of these down. Now in this case, I'm going to actually bring it back a little bit when I solder it, because that will make sure that it's less of a chance of bridging these if I do it over here like this. Okay? All right, so first thing we're going to do is try to clean this up and re-tin this. We don't really have to, but it's good practice. So we'll put a little flux on there to help that solder flow. Then we will get our solder wick. All right, we got our solder wick here. Solder wick. So we're going to go ahead and get that over here with our soldering iron. Small soldering iron for this. And we're going to try to wick up or remove any solder that's left here. Just clean these pads the best we can. It's always a good idea to try to put new solder on pads when you are repairing this. All right. That seems like it's going to be good. Let me wipe this off. See where we're at. Yeah, it looks all right. It doesn't look like the pads have been torn. The second one is going to be ground, and the first from the top, first, third, and fourth are all different leads. There's no real way to test these unless you follow the traces. So we know one is ground, and then on the bottom you can follow the others. It looks like two of those go nowhere. Okay, so if you look at it this way, right here, second one is going to be ground. You can tell because the main area, this main green area, is part of this trace here. So you can, anything this is on will connect to ground. There's ground. There's going to be ground here, etc. Okay. Now, so that's the second one from this side. Okay. So that means the second one up is ground. See how it's like that. Now it appears that the first and the third may not go anywhere. Okay, but this first one on the top here, which is the bottom here, goes somewhere. We are going to still get this put back together. First thing we want to do is put a little bit of flux there, and we will put a little bit of flux on here, just a tiny bit. Okay. Now, get some solder on our iron. And then we will tin these 4 little traces here. Switch this around. That's much easier. Much better angle. All right, so we have a problem. You may notice that we see this trace right here is completely ripped off. It's moving. So what we are going to have to do is rebuild that trace. So I am going to show you how we can do that. I'm not sure this goes anywhere. It's this bottom one here. And look at that, it does go somewhere. That is the other part of the switch, which means that if this is not connecting to here, then this is completely useless. So what we're going to do is I'm going to put a little solder connecting back to this trace. First thing we have to do is we have to scrape off a little bit of this coating so we can get to the copper underneath. So let me do that, and then we'll get some solder there, and we should be good to go. All right. Okay, so if you look where this trace is right here, going to that, and then it goes from here all the way over to this via here and this other via, which is actually under the switch. So we can test this on this other side. It's going to be, looks like this capacitor right here. Of course, we already know this is the ground, so this right here should be where it connects to. Okay, so what we need to do is get our meter in diode mode or continuity mode. So when we touch these together, they make noise. Now, so we've got this right here. Theoretically, that should connect to this, but it doesn't. But it does connect there. That means this trace is torn. Okay? So we just need to make a bridge, solder bridge right there, and we should be good to go. So, no continuity there, but we'll fix that. All right, so getting ready to fix this, there's hair everywhere. Getting ready to fix this, we need to make a little bit of a bridge, solder bridge to that right there, okay? So we need to tin it first. We'll put a little flux here. We could probably get away with just soldering a bridge to the cable itself, but we're going to repair this trace as best we can as it sits. All right. very tiny works. Here we go. All right, so we got a little bit of solder on there. And now the trick is to get this bridged here. So let's see if we can do it with a little bit more solder here. It's hard to see from this angle, folks, but yeah. So this is trying to slide all over the place here. I think what we're going to do is we're going to replace this trace completely so we don't have to worry about it falling all over the place. So if you look at this, we've got the cable here. I've already put a little bit of flux on it and separated these 4 leads right here. Okay, so that's ready to go. The only way to really do this is going to be to go to an alternate spot right here with this via. I've already ground away a little bit with an X-Acto and put a little tiny bit of solder there. So the way we're going to do this, just to verify that this is in fact the 2 connections that make this switch work. There's the button right there. So this is just a concept video to see how to fix things like this. This board right here, it might only be like $10 or something, but if you can fix it, it's good practice. So typically you're going to have a ground, and a ground is going to be one part of the switch. So if we connect these 2 right here together, there we go. There we go. So we're going to put this on this via right here, and then we're going to put it on ground. We could put it right there, but it's a little easier just to throw it into ground like this. So I'm going to kind of hold this off to the side there. All right. Now, if we push the button, that shows that the thing is still working, but of course there's nothing here for this cable to adhere to. So I am going to try to put a little bit more solder right there, and then we will try to get this in place. And of course these 2, we're going to solder these as well, even though they're very likely just dummies, you know. It's only 2 wires that go to this button. Okay, so I'm going to flip it around and get the other 3 soldered, and then we'll see about getting that 4th one done. Now this 4th one might be a hassle. It might take 2 or 3 tries to get it, especially when you really have nothing to work with. I mean, there's just a tiny little bit there of that via left. So I'm going to take an X-Acto knife. I'm going to switch it around, because I'm right-handed. Switch it around here and try to get a little bit more of that copper exposed. You don't want to have this connect to the ground at all, because if you have this connected to ground on either side, that can cause a problem, because that's essentially making it a switch that's always on, always being pushed, it thinks. Okay, so that should work right there. Let me clean this off with a little alcohol so I know what I'm working with. Okay. So, yeah, we've cleaned that off nicely. So now we just need to get a little bit of solder to adhere to that. And of course, we want to do first a little bit of flux, and we can clean this later. A little bit of flux will help the solder connect to that. And if you saw, very, very close to this next one, but I don't know that that's really a big deal, because I do believe that those 2 connect to nothing. So if we do bridge it, it might not be a terrible thing. We'll see what we can do. All right. So we got our soldering iron here, a little tiny one. We're going to try to get a little bit of solder to connect to that right there. It's tough because that's such a tiny spot we're working with here. I think there's some solder there, but it's really hard to tell. Not a lot to work with there. But I do believe that we can get that to connect, and then we can glue this down here so there's no tension on that when we're done. All right, so now I'll switch it around, and we will get the other one started. First thing I want to do is just kind of put something on here to hold this in place. And then I can use the tweezers possibly to get this in place, because you got to do this right the first time. All right, let's angle this a better. There we go. All right. Okay, that first one seems to be okay. Do the second one. Okay, a little bit more solder. And then we will go back to getting these other ones in. I'm gonna go with this one now. Do this one here. All right, now those look like they're soldered. We just have to worry about this one little one right here. So this is the important one. Now the question is that connected to that trace? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my leads here. Okay, I'm going to put one on ground, and I'm going to do my best to be able to push that button. There we go. So I put it right here. It should beep. It's not beeping yet. Or is it not connected to the ground here? Yeah, this is tough. Okay. So now, if I hit it on that one right there, pushing the button works, which also means not there. Okay, that's ground as well, apparently. Oh, that is the ground. That's right. Okay, so nowhere else is it connecting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over and look at the other end of this cable. Okay, so I don't really know exactly which one it is from this angle, but I'm going to, I'm guessing, let's see. Okay, so it would be the one closest to the board right there. Let's see if that actually is doing its job all the way to the other end of the cable. If so, we're good to go. Right there, right there. All right, push the button. We're good to go. All right. So there you go. That is how to fix that. Now, the thing is, I do not want that to let go. It's very, very fragile. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue right here. UV coating would be the essential thing to do, but I don't have any. So I'm just going to use a little bit of glue, a little bit of super glue, and I'll let that do its thing. Super glue, as far as I know, is not conductive, so we should be fine. All right, I'll let that, put something underneath it so it doesn't stick to the desk. All right, guys, there you go. That is how you fix that cable. That is how you bypass or repair a trace. Hopefully this will dry and everything will be good. I will check one last time once it's dry just to make sure that this end of the cable is working the way it's supposed to on the first and third trace. So let's let that dry and I'll be back in just a moment. Okay, so now we're going to see about whether or not this works. Everything is dried up, good to go. So we're going to put this on ground. And of course, if we put it on ground here, we should hear a beep. There we go. There we go. So now if we put it on the first one, we should hear a beep when we push the button. There we go. It's hard to do this at one time. All right. Okay, so we push this button, we should hear a beep. Good to go. All right, so we now have a working switch. There you go. All right, folks, thanks again for checking out my channel. I appreciate all the support on the videos, and if you like and subscribe, that's pretty awesome too. So do that, and have a wonderful day. Talk to you later. See you in the next video.